The last sound I ever truly heard was my daughter's laughter. On the morning the world went quiet, it was a switch, flipped off. The universe became a pristine, terrifying museum, the Great Dampening, they called it. Sound, as a wave, simply ceased to exist. My world, hollowed by loss, became a gallery of ghosts. I was a sound archivist. I preserved the last remnants, the crunch of leaves, the hiss of vinyl, the chime of a cup. They were data points on my screens, sterile. But to me, they were the last graves of a dead sense. Grief for my wife was now compounded by this universal theft. I lived in a double tomb. The change came not with a bang, but with a vibration I felt in my bones, a low subsonic thrum. The seismic monitors confirmed it. A pulse. From the deep. It emanated from the abyssal cord, an abandoned research array in the ocean depths. The journey to the coast was a silent film of despair. People moved with frantic, exaggerated gestures. Their faces were etched with a permanent scream no one could hear. I navigated by written notes in desperate eyes. I stole a submersible, its batteries barely charged. My mission wasn't sanctioned. It was compulsion. The descent was a plunge into a void more absolute than any silence on land. No pings of sonar, no groans of pressure, just terrifying quiet and the blinking light on my console. The abyssal cord materialized from the gloom, a Gothic cathedral of corroded metal and shattered domes. It was dead, and yet it was singing a song only the planet itself could feel. I docked in a rupture. My suit was my only shield against the crushing dark. Their last experiment was active, a massive resonator designed to translate tectonic shifts into sound. It didn't translate them anymore. It amplified their raw physical force. The machine had evolved. It was now translating the planet's silent energy into pure physical vibration, and it was learning. I saw the pattern! A calibration. The machine, flooded with energy, was tuning itself. To what end? I feared a resonance that would shatter the seafloor. A final, violent scream from a muted Earth. My hand hovered over the emergency kill switch. Murder this strange new heart beating in the dark? But I didn't pull it. I looked at the data. I saw, not chaos, but a pattern building towards coherence. Not a scream of rage. A song of transformation. The Earth was forging a new language of felt vibration. The Great Dampening wasn't an end. It was a chrysalis. We were being forced to listen with our skin, our bones. I rerouted the power. I fed the machine the mathematical fingerprints of every sound I had saved. The laughter, the leaves, the chime, the hiss. I gave it the memory of our lost world. The machine shuddered. The pulse changed. The raw thrum began to weave my data into its rhythm. It wasn't reproducing sound. It was translating our auditory history into a new vibrational lexicon. The planet was learning to speak our memories. I surfaced as a different man. I didn't return with a cure for the silence. I returned with the translation. I built a new kind of archive. Not of recorded sounds, but of resonant platforms, places where people could stand and feel the vibrational translation of a forest, of a marketplace. We couldn't hear our daughter's laughter, but we could feel its joyful, intricate resonance, a memory felt in the pulse of our own blood. The silence remained, but within it, we found a deeper, more primal connection to the earth, to our past, to each other. We stopped being mourners of a dead sense. We became students of a new one. The world was not quieter. We were finally truly listening. The archive was my refuge, a digital tomb for ghosts of noise. I was their caretaker. Every day, I'd review the fragments. To forget them would be a second deeper death. The vibration was first a nuisance. A trembling in my coffee cup, then a persistent rhythmic ache in my teeth. I checked every system. It wasn't internal. It was external. Coming from below. A beacon. The coordinates led to the Mariana Trench. To the cord. A place designed for listening, now gone dark for years. No authority would sanction a trip. Resources were too thin. Survival too fragile. Hope was a non-essential nutrient. The submersible Whisper was a relic. Its pressure gauges were questionable. Its battery life, a prayer. I packed for data retrieval, not salvation. Tools, sensors, and the core drive from my archive. The ocean's surface was a sheet of obsidian, swallowing the Whisper whole without a ripple. Depth increased. Light died. The world outside the viewport became a Rorschach test of my own fears. My only company was the console's blink, syncing with my heartbeat, pulling me deeper into the unknown. Then, the first glimpse. Not on sonar. In the water itself. A faint, rhythmic propagation of light. The abyssal cord wasn't just humming, it was glowing. A diseased heart in a sunken chest. Finding an airlock was a struggle. Most were fused shut or collapsed. The structure was singing itself apart. I found a fracture in a viewing dome. A wound. It was my way in, into the beast's gullet. Inside, gravity was a suggestion. Debris hung in the flooded corridors, dancing to the vibration's silent tune. The control room was a time capsule of catastrophe. Screens frozen on warnings, chairs overturned in flight. I accessed the primary log. Dr. Aris's final entry, the resonator feedback loop is self-sustaining. We can't contain it. It's not interpreting data anymore, it's conversing with the source. The mantle itself. We opened a door. The machine had become a transducer, turning the Earth's geothermal breath into a tangible, physical language. But the language was primal, unstructured. Without a framework, it was just destructive force. A tantrum. My hand was on the kill switch. To inject a shutdown virus. It would have been a mercy killing for a newborn god. But I thought of my archive. Not as a tomb, but as a dictionary. A Rosetta Stone for raw vibration. What if I didn't teach it to stop? What if I taught it to speak? To use our memories as its alphabet. I jacked the cube directly into the core interface, uploading the spectral fingerprints of 10,000 lost sounds. The machine seized the data. For a moment, the vibration spiked wildly, a storm of conflicting information. Then, a harmony. The wild spikes began to mirror the waveforms from my archive. Chaos finding grammar, the resonator's light softened from violent white to a cascading spectrum. It was composing. I felt it first through my suit. A gentle, complex pattern, the distinct signature of wind through pine trees. Then, the resonance of rainfall. Then, the vibrational shape of a cello's note. A symphony of silent translation. The door was not closed. It was open wider, but now we had a translator standing in the threshold. Ascending, the Whisper felt different, not just a vessel, a messenger carrying a new covenant. I built the first platform where my house once stood. The first word it spoke was home. People came, skeptical. They stepped onto the platform, and for the first time in years, they felt understood. We built platforms in schools. Children learned history not through words, but through felt experience. We built them in hospitals. The resonant pattern of a healthy heartbeat became a therapy, a comfort. My daughter and I visit her mother's platform. We don't hear her voice. We feel her presence, her essence. The silence is no longer an absence. It is the page upon which a new sense is being written. We are not the last chapter of an old story. We are the first sentence of a new one.